This is episode 226 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Melissa Nash. Melissa is the founder of Lady Luck Investments, which emerged out of necessity. She personally built a portfolio that secured her family's financial future in less than 6 years, and now she's bringing it to other women to help them do the same. She wants to change the story of women in real estate, create a legacy of wealth and empowerment. Melissa, welcome to the show.
Hey, nice to meet you, and thank you for that wonderful intro.
Yeah, my pleasure. Yeah, some people say they want me to like show up in the morning and just give them the great intro to get ready for the day. So, whatever works. But
It's
there's
a
there
good idea.
yeah, yeah, it just makes you feel great to start the day. I wanted to start with something interesting that I got in the preform because you said something about your husband's grandmother being an investor in the 60s. So let's start there because maybe that is your intro to real estate.
It kind of inspired me, but she didn't have the opportunity to teach me because she
Yeah.
passed away, but her story is really inspiring, and in fact, I kind of created a little bit of a story within that story that I'll share
Yeah.
with you if that's
Yeah, I
okay.
love it. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love to compare, so my husband's grandma was buying real estate in Los Angeles in the '60s and '70s,
Yeah.
which is so rare anyways, A, female,
Yeah.
B, she was a real estate investor, and her son was actually an actor in Hollywood. Not my husband's father, but
Yeah.
the uncle. And, basically, if you see any movie in the, like, '60s with, like, a red-haired kid,
Yeah.
that's him, because
Nice.
that's when Technicolor came out and
Yeah.
everybody wanted, the red-haired kid, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so she was in LA, like, dropping him off at movie sets, and she was like, "What am I gonna do?" And so she ended up getting a real estate license, and she started selling houses, and then she would take the commission from every house, because she was married and her husband paid for their overhead, so
Yeah.
she was able to take that commission, and she did so the story, she says she didn't really know what to do with the money, but she knew real estate grew. So she would buy rental properties.
Yeah.
So which was crazy. So I didn't know her at this time, clearly
Yeah.
wasn't born in all the story. So when I met my husband, they would talk about, like, his rich grandma. But I knew her as, like, she was like disco grandma. And so her husband passed away in the '70s. And so what I have kind of gathered and went back is when he passed away, she was able to live off of her rental income.
Wow.
So she
Yeah.
provided for herself at a time when a lot of women couldn't or didn't. And so that right there was, like, just crazy inspiring to me. So by the time I met her when we got married, she was, like, on cruises and in Mexico with her girlfriends, and she was super fun and super hip. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like, that is really cool." But my husband's memory of it is a little different because his memory of it growing up was, oh, there was a bad tenant and she needed a turnover, and
Yeah.
we would have to go clean out one of my grandma's houses, and she would pay us. And, so he was detoured from it
Yeah.
because of that experience, but I was inspired by it. And then I would compare my grandmother, who I only had one grandparent that I knew, and she was an immigrant and she worked really hard, and
Yeah.
she had her W-2, and when she finally retired when she was like 70, she had a pension and barely thrived and barely survived.
I love what you're doing because you do want to focus on helping women get to a next level because it's still a landscape that is architecturally challenged in between men and female. It's certainly gotten so much better over the years, but still it's a primarily male business, hopefully changing along the way.
It is, and the biggest thing that I found, it's not that I feel like I definitely have all opportunities in the market, you just make them happen. You
Yeah.
just have the courage and you just have to do it. I've been mansplained a lot, and, like,
Yeah.
people kinda shut you down and they're like, "Oh, can I talk to your husband?"
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah. That's the
that
most common one. My project manager, who was on episode 7 way back in the day, she's a female, and they've tried everything, but she now uses it to her advantage, and she pretends like she's a confused housewife instead of the owner, and it helps her. So she knows how to play the game as well. But yeah, I think that mansplaining is a commonality. What I have found is though, the true people in the business who start off like that, who now then hear the response from somebody who knows what they're talking about, that goes away. They're like, oh, they realize their mistake then, like, oh, now I get it. And then they're very responsive. At least in my experience, that's what I've seen.
Yeah, and, I'm not offended by it. I mean, hey, it is what it is, and everybody should have to earn their respect, whoever it is,
Yeah.
whoever you're talking to, whoever you're working with. We all kind of need to do that. Sometimes I've had to do it a little bit more than others,
Yeah.
but it's fine. My goal is absolutely to, number 1, teach my daughters how to, create financial freedom for themselves
Yeah.
and how to empower themselves and go for it and not be afraid and have the courage. And then with that is other women out there, which I've been super passionate about. I'm glad it happened because I was prepared and I was like, okay, worst case scenario, it happened, did it, fixed it. They moved a new tenant in, and that tenant literally was in the property for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
Um, they never moved all through COVID. I had the same tenant. They were Section 8, so I got my rent check. Like, it's been great. And so that property really did give me, even though that happened, it gave me the courage and the confidence to keep on going.
Yeah, I mean, that is the success of you get past the one that makes you want to quit again. And then it's like, oh, wait, 6 years of a tenant with very little problems. That's really what everybody's going for. It's just about how are you going to get there and what vehicles are you going to use to try to get there? And we can choose the wrong vehicles as well. Some people struggle with Section 8. It's not easy for management. If you have a good manager, you get it. But yeah, where did you go from there? That one turned around and yeah, I said, okay, let's keep doing this, I guess.
Yeah, so I bought a couple more in the same market
Yeah,
because I
that's
was like,
smart.
"Hey, let's not break, or it's not broken." I mean,
Yeah.
let's just kinda not change. So I bought a couple more, and then I was kind of like, "I wanna do this a little bit faster." I mean, turnkey is great to me. I think it fit all the boxes for me, but I wanted a little bit more cash flow because,
Yeah.
again, I wanted to leave that job. I didn't wanna be there, and so I was like, "How am I gonna kinda ramp this up a little
Yeah.
bit?" And so, I kind of wanted to do the short-term rental thing again, and this was in 2018. And so, now that I knew how to run numbers, even though for short-term rentals I didn't really know, at least I knew, like, what I needed to dive after and go for and try to research.
Do you think that your growth success for your portfolio is it combined for short-term rentals and long-term rentals, that diversity?
Mhm, absolutely. So the short-term rentals gave me more cash flow quicker.
Yeah.
So today
Right. You open them, they're producing.
exactly. So I've been able to turn that money faster into more properties,
That
but
makes
I've
sense.
also I've sold a couple short-term rentals. I've owned 9 over the last 6 years, and now I only have 5. So I've
Yeah.
sold some, because I took that money and I did 1031 exchange to buy the next one up, the more expensive one, or
Yeah.
to buy more long-term rentals. I'm just constantly turning over and using to my advantage, the equity, either whether I'd done cash out refinances
Yeah.
on some properties. I'm constantly turning over the money, and that's the key. That is how you grow, whether you're refinancing or HELOC or 1031 exchange. I would not be here where I am today and been able to leave that corporate job if I didn't figure out some way to accelerate it to get more.
Right. Without adding more income of your own, you're taking the properties and letting them appreciate. That's really smart. And I think it's definitely something that I've talked a lot about for newer investors who they get to maybe 5 doors and they're excited because they're counting the doors and they stop looking at the doors and they keep going to acquisition. It's like, well, is there anything there that you could trade out for something better? Like you're saying, you can sometimes trade one property for two, which is a great way to add more, or you can trade one short-term rental for an upgraded one that's going to earn you more. And that's just important. A lot of times with short-term rentals, you're going to sell the furniture with it, so you're going to get that on the side also. That's just a very smart. I grew up with a dad who traded. He held a lot, but he liked to trade. When the market was up, he would sell any house that we lived in, and I still feel the same way. To my kids' detriment over the years, but we always would get another nice house. But it's like when the market's hot, I sell. I don't care. I'll
Yeah.
just get another house. And I think that's really important to note that although we started by saying like how important holding is, it's still important to hold and evaluate and upgrade, because then you don't have to rely on the extra income, can be in stocks, index funds, and other things.
Well, and even one of my short-term rentals, it's actually not far from here, and it's my favorite one. I go there as much as I can. My family goes there. We actually use it and love it, and I
Yeah.
tell people it's my retirement home.
Yeah.
But it's being paid off right now. But
Yeah.
that
Right.
that property, we actually took money out of it. So we put a little bit of money on the we did put a little bit of a rehab into it,
Yeah.
not a major, but anyways, so we forced the equity. We took money out of it to buy more properties, to buy the next short-term rental. That property actually barely cash flows for me. I don't own that short-term rental for the cash flow,
Yeah.
but I did a huge, huge cost segregation on it.